Welcome. I'm Danielle Sally.
And I'm Eva Fusa.
And you're listening to Ghost Boss, stories about the freelance afterlife. Hey, ghosties.
Oh, my God. Ghosties.
Listen,
Y'all.
I am so glad you all can't see our sound checks.
13 takes in 57 minutes.
I think we broke a record this time.
We broke something. Couple times. Actually, I think it was broken and we unbroke it. But
listen, there's a lot of buttons that were hit. And I don't know what we did, but we did it.
Well, we do know what we did because on take 13, we literally read out what we did.
Lucky number 13.
Lucky number 13. I was lucky number 7 when I played roller derby.
Okay.
Why are you laughing?
No, I just don't know how we got here. How are you today, Eva?
Well, I've already been in a weird mood for a couple days. It's fine.
I don't think this helped.
This didn't help. Last night I went to edit our audio from last week. It's trash. It's trashita.
Probably because we weren't as picky as we were today.
Right. It's trashita, so I had to throw it away.
That's okay.
And so
the only thing that upset me, I wasn't even that upset that we trashed the episode.
No, it was fine. It was a fine episode, but it wasn't
fine.
great.
It wasn't our best, guys. Right. Don't worry.
Don't you worry.
Don't you worry. But man, we looked good.
We looked great. And in the sound check today, I had my hair looking real good. And by the time we got the audio to work, I was like, I had to fix my hair again.
And now we're all sweaty and frizzy again. What a man.
Anyways, welcome. Hello.
So we had a couple topics that we wanted to cover today. And then and we had multiple. And then I texted Eva last night and I was like, you know, when you don't have to work late, but the creativity just hits you.
And I replied back in all caps, oh my God, that's what I'm doing exactly right now.
I tell my daughter this all the time because she'll just have moments where she feels creative and she just needs to create.
Yeah.
And my response to that is take advantage of that. Go.
Creativity is so fickle, y'all.
Yeah.
Like when she's here, you better get up and go do something.
Yes. So I'm like, when I'm in that mood, I have to capture it.
Yes.
And last night was one of those nights. Yay. And it was cool because it wasn't a client project.
Oh, fun.
It's for myself. So I decided when I launched my business, instead of doing something around the traditional holidays, I was always going to do something for Halloween. And that would be my Halloween or my holiday tradition. So I've been a little bit on a creative block with what I've wanted to do because last year I did a printed piece. I sent it out and then I'm like, do I want to do something printed again? That's not I love UX. I love web. Maybe I should do something more digital. So I've been trying to rack my brain around like, what do I do this year?
Yeah.
And last night it hit.
Y'all should see her. She's looked so excited.
It hit. And I'm like, I need to do this. I need to go. Because my timeline for myself, I wanted to always be able to like August, I will focus on it. And that way.
I mean, it is the beginning of September.
Yeah. I'm behind.
Well, and I mean, it depends on if you're not going to print it, then you probably don't have as much production time on it.
Right.
But you need to start thinking about it because you don't want to end up doing something because you ran out of time to get it produced.
Yeah. So my goal is always whatever I do, it's out October 1.
Oh.
The official start of truly spooky season.
Then what are you doing here?
Well, it hit last night.
Shouldn't you be working on it?
No. Oh, man. I got so much done last night and it's looking so good. I'm really excited.
Oh, I can't wait to see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you see October 1.
Awesome. I thought you were going to go October 31st, but you're going October 1st.
October 1. Yeah.
Cool.
I got to celebrate a whole month of October.
I love that you treat Halloween like your birthday month.
It's relatively the same.
It's our half birthdays. I got a bunch of emails about it being my half birthday.
Well, I always kind of felt like my body is spring. My soul is fall. So I kind of treat they each serve a purpose. Mm-hmm. They each have a different feeling. Yeah. I kind of feel like fall, I'm more in my comfort zone. Whereas like spring, it's because it's the start of a new year for me. I'm like everything, like new, fresh ideas. I don't know. So fall, I'm like, I don't know. Okay. But this fall in particular, I don't know if it's Virgo season or what, but I have been on a creative high. Yay. And my mindset is whatever it is, I don't care what you're making. I don't care if it's traditional art, if it's painting, or if you're on a computer. If that creativity hits,
you got to grab it.
You need to take advantage.
Go. Go.
So you were also working late.
Yeah. So this reminds me of two things. Number one, what I was doing last night.
Yeah.
And also the paintings that I mentioned I was working on a couple episodes ago. But yeah, last night. So my son's in aftercare now.
Yes.
And I mentioned that because I've said like 1,000 times on this episode, my son's not in aftercare. And he works strange hours. So he's in aftercare this year, which has been really great.
It's a big deal.
We're a couple weeks in and I can already like feel the pressure come off.
Yeah.
Me. I've still been working kind of crazy hours, but that's just getting caught up. But like, I really feel like I'm going to be like in a nice cadence with this.
Yeah.
But last night after he went to bed, I had some stuff I could do, but I didn't have to do it.
Yeah.
Like I felt like I was like, I don't know. I feel like I can.
Yeah.
I just feel like I can. And like one of it was like a thing I needed to design. It's been on my list for 6 months.
Right.
I mean, it's clearly not urgent.
Yeah.
Right. It's for an event in November. So like I have time to do it. But I did that and I did like some light admin work and then I did like just a couple of other things. So your story reminds me not only that, like I had a moment where like professionally for my job, I could like run with something. But like, so this painting that I did, y'all, when I first started it and it's evolved over time, but I decided to do a bunch of like gold leafing all over it, actually variegated leafing because it's gold and copper, it's all kinds of colors. And initially I was laying down every piece with tweezers.
Oh man.
And I mean, it's probably like 4 square feet of like leafing. And it was like, I don't know, it was a weird, tedious project that I actually did find a little like relaxing. And it was taking some time to do.
Sure.
Which was fine. But then one night I was like, I'm going to finish it.
Yeah.
You have to. I was only 20% done with the leafing and it had taken me like days to get that far.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm going to finish it.
Yeah.
And so I laid it down and like, instead of doing the tweezers, like I just like did it in big chunks and like would turn it over and shake off the excess and pick up the excess and put it back on. Right. It was like a much different process, but like it turned out just as cool. And it was less tedious. I mean, it was just a different way to do it. It was much messier to do it, but it was because I was like, I need this finished now.
Yeah.
Like this has been a process for a couple months. It's getting done tonight.
Oh, for sure.
It's getting done tonight. And then afterwards, I vacuumed my office and the entire inside of my vacuum cleaner is corky hair and like gold leafing. So it's a vibe in there.
Yeah, I bet. That sounds like a good vibe.
It's a vibe.
I do think it is funny, though, how sometimes the moments just hit. And I've kind of talked about this a lot on previous episodes where because agency world has kind of trained me into thinking everything's on a fire. And I've kind of gotten into this mindset of if I don't have that urgency, I don't have that motivation. And so I find it sometimes it's been harder for me to start a project if I have ample time to work on it. And so, but then I know too, right? Like once that creativity hits, I'm go. And like, I think it was maybe 2 weeks ago where it was over the weekend and I knew I had to do social graphics. I think it was for Ghost Boss. And I was like, I knew it was coming. I knew season 2 was starting. I knew I had to do it. Right. Yeah. But I kept putting it off because there was no urgency to it. But then one weekend, the creativity hit.
Oh, yeah.
And I was just like, oh, I have an idea.
Yeah.
I knocked out like a whole month of social graphics.
Yeah.
Just because I got in the zone, it came to me and it hit. But it's just funny how sometimes it takes a while to get there. But I need to figure out, and I don't know what I need to do. And I'll get there. It's years of kind of unworking what has been set in my brain, but trying to figure out how to find my motivation and break through a creative block without having to have that sense of urgency and a fire to put out. Because part of why I wanted to be a freelancer is setting my own timeline and setting my schedule and picking and choosing what I can take on and what I can't take on. Ideally, I'm not going to pick a bunch of stuff that's under fire. Of course, I have stuff that a client needs fast and they're a great client and I'm going to do it for them because
we're not talking about you if you're listening and you're our client. We're certainly not talking about you.
But am I going to take on a bunch of clients like that? If I have someone who is constantly like that, then that might not be a good client for me, right? Because I've kind of chose this path where I'm in a little bit more control, but I have a lot of work to do to figure out how do I break through creative blocks without, because if I know something's due 2 weeks from now, I'm not, the funny thing is I don't really I used to be a procrastinator. I do not consider myself a procrastinator anymore because I do overly plan stuff.
Have you all seen her calendar?
Yeah. I mean, I think anyone that's seen my calendar knows I'm not a procrastinator, but sometimes I just need that sense of urgency for the creativity to hit. And I don't know how to break that yet.
It's almost like a muscle memory, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I need it broken.
Yeah.
So it's nice though, maybe I need to do more things like my Halloween project.
Yeah.
Where it's something for me. It's just this great creative outlet where I did, the moment hit and I took advantage of it and I created and I made a lot of ugly stuff before I got to what I wanted.
Ugly stuff.
But it is funny. And I know I'm not the only freelancer that deals with this because there's a lot of freelancers that came from this very fast paced world and it is a struggle to go from that to not having to have as much pressure on you constantly.
Right.
And it's not that there's no pressure. It's just you don't have that constant pressure anymore. I don't know how to break it.
I don't know how to help.
You're like, wow, that's a traumatic.
I mean, it's just what my therapist was like. No, so even though I wasn't at an agency, stuff will end up surprisingly fast in-house as well. And I say that because sometimes I talk to people who've never been in-house or like I'll talk to students who they don't have any frame of reference.
Sure.
And most of like what people prep you for in college is agency work or freelance work. And they're like, I like a fast-paced environment. And I'm like, I mean, I had plenty of deadlines in under 24 hours as an in-house designer.
Don't worry.
Don't you worry. Don't you worry. They'll give you no time to do stuff.
I also, though, I feel like a lot of them don't understand how fast the pace until they are in the agency.
It is, or working professionally in general. I say this all the time when I talk to people who are either in college preparing to enter the workforce in the next year or so, or even, if they're just in high school thinking about becoming a designer or whatever. The number one thing that I had to learn when I graduated that I don't think anybody really prepares you for because there's no really way to prepare you for it is the breakneck speed that you have to work at as a professional.
Exactly.
Agency, freelance, in-house, whatever. You have to work so fast and figure out how to do that without letting the work suffer.
Oh, yeah.
Which is the hardest thing to do.
Yeah.
So it is just like when I talk to even people in our industry who just aren't creatives. I remember I was talking to somebody once and it was shortly after I'd started my business. And he was like, oh, so like, do you work on like one or two big projects at a time? And I was like, if y'all can't see me, but I'm doing the dog head thing.
Like,
I was like, I did 5 projects before I went to lunch today. I was thinking about it recently. I probably easily do a couple hundred projects every month. Yeah. Not more. Yeah. Like, and projects can mean a lot, right? Like, is it?
Sure.
Right. Like projects can be small, projects can be big, but like, I just like, it's just the sheer speed that you have to work.
Yeah.
In any of this, but listening to your story about like, I feel like I put it off even though I don't have to do that anymore.
Yeah.
I tend to do that. I'm also not a procrastinator.
Yeah.
I am little miss, like, let's get it done right away.
Sure.
Like very proactive. It's just, I'm real type A, high strung, eldest daughter, burnt out, a gifted kid over here. But what happens to me, it's not that like, I can't work unless I'm under pressure. I do better under pressure.
Yeah.
For sure. But probably what's happened is, I can get that for you in 2 weeks. I'm booked up for the next like 12 days.
Yeah.
So like I got to work you in or I left space for you and then like a rush job came in.
Yeah.
So I find myself working later, like working faster and working under pressure more than I love similarly. And it's just because the nature of being a freelancer is you kind of can never say no to stuff. I mean, you can, but like we are less likely to say no.
Oh, right.
than
for sure.
in-house, or even probably agencies can probably at least buffer a little bit with a team.
Yeah.
In-house can buffer a little bit with a team. And I'm like, no, I'll take it.
Yeah. I will do that for you.
I'll do that. So yeah, I do the same thing. I mean, like when I tell people, yeah, I mean, I can turn out logos in a couple days.
Yeah.
Several. How many do you need? And can I clear my schedule enough to do it? And
right.
like, you know, and people are like, oh my God. I'm like, it is what it is.
You find a way to get it done.
And it almost feels like sometimes my brain has this like switch in it.
Yeah.
And like, if it knows, it's go time.
Well, and so that's
like,
why
I can sit down and like hammer it out.
I think that's why sometimes I used to get more stressed out about the amount and if I have a ton going on, yes, I will reach that.
Right.
But I don't reach that level as much anymore because I do know how much time I really need.
You're really good at that.
And I think it's just because I had to be. And I know how much time I'll need, but then I also know if I can hit that moment of creative excellence. You can feel it
when you're there. You can when you're in it, you can feel it.
And I know when I'm not in it.
Yep.
And I've kind of also learned when I'm not in it, don't force myself to work on it. And of course it's different if it's something that's like it's under deadline, it has to get done. But if it's something, if it's a project more where I'm concepting on a new idea and I have some time to think about it, then if I'm not feeling it that day, then clearly that is something that needs to be tabled for another day.
Right.
And I don't know once it hits. So you got like this Halloween project. I've had this on my list since early August.
Yeah.
And we're recording this is September 10th today. And it just hit yesterday. Yeah. I'm a month behind where I wanted to be. That's okay. Because again, I gave myself the deadline October 1. Right.
Anytime I'm in a situation where I have a big creative deadline. Right? Yeah. Because sometimes we procrastinate stuff that's not a capital C creative project. Right? Yeah. It's just production work. It's easy tasks. Yeah. Or sometimes it's not easy tasks, right? Like I am much more likely to like jump in on like a full scope, like ad campaign because I know the ins and outs versus like something that I'm just not as familiar with. Yeah. I did like kind of retool a little bit. But sometimes you're working on these like capital C creative projects. Yeah. And like, to your point, if you're just trying to push through no matter what, you can tell. I can tell when I go back and look at the work that like, that's like, I wasn't in it. Like it wasn't time. So that's where like having other stuff to do, like admin work or production work is helpful to jump out and jump back in. And then like, I mean, I think I was a little in it last night. I don't have anything really on the horizon right this second. Watch, I'll get a brief today. Yeah, right. Like we're gonna be done. And I'm like, oh man, my inbox is picking up. I just didn't have anything last night that it was like sit down and brainstorm a lot of stuff. Yeah. And so I did a bunch of other work, which was fine. And then I started to feel tired and I went and got in bed and I couldn't fall asleep till after 1 because my brain was just like, we can do more. And I'm like, we can, but we shouldn't. We shouldn't. It's bedtime. Yeah. I felt like I was talking to both my 7-year-old and my own brain. Like, no, it's bedtime. It was exactly how I was last night. I just could not fall asleep last night. Yeah. And I think it's just because my brain was in create stuff mode. Yeah, go make things. And I wanted to keep going. But then I'm like, I also value sleep a lot. So I didn't. I did not get a lot of sleep last night. I walked in with a very big coffee. But yeah, it's just... And it's something that like we've both been doing this for a long time. Yeah. I still don't know when the creativity is going to show up. I don't like I just sometimes I sit down to do it and it's not time. And sometimes I sit down to do it and it is time. And it's frustrating. Like sometimes the weather comes into play, right? Like sometimes like the weather, whatever it is, like it puts me in a mood where I don't want to create. Mm-hmm. I can't control that. That's just how the weather works. Or just like just all kinds of stuff. And like, I think that's something that like being a creative professional is very unique. Right? Yeah. And like, I always pick on my little accountant friends on this podcast. I'm like, we're not accountants, but like part of what makes our job so unique and so wonderful and so challenging is that I can't look at my week and just be like, I'm going to be able, I mean, I can estimate pretty well, but like, I can't definitively say I could do this in these exact times at this exact moment. Yeah. I can likely do it then, but I may sit down and start working away. And it's just like, it ain't in there. It's just not happening.
And it's different too, depending on what you're working on. And we said this, right? Like the busy work, the edits and things like that, like that I put in completely different category. But the concepting side of things, that I need to make sure I have ample time to work on.
Yeah.
Because just part of the nature of you don't know when the idea is going to come to you. You don't know when it's going to hit. And sometimes you can't just force it to do that.
Yeah.
So, and I remember my keeping sane topic, I made a point of saying, and in that topic, if you haven't heard me talk about this before,
you can book her.
You can still.
Hey,
but
she'll come to a luncheon near you.
But it was a lot of conversation about how we make sure we're working better as a team and keeping mental health the priority of your team. But part of that, I talk about, no good work is created from stress. So if anyone on your team is stressed, your whole team is going to feel that. And you need to make sure, like, if you have concepting going on, like, you need to make sure work is balanced out, because you're just not going to produce the best creative if you're constly stressing everyone out.
It just might not be what you want.
You will definitely get something.
We're a little fickle, us creatives. We need space, and then we want you there, and then we want you to leave.
And you'll know when we want you to leave.
Oh, we'll let you know.
Yeah.
We'll let you know.
Don't worry about that.
Because I'm a designer, I think a lot of things through these like visual analogies.
Yeah.
And so I envision like capital C creative projects, which for me means like logo design, brand build outs, full ad campaigns, that sort of thing. I envision it like I have a big boulder and I'm at the bottom of a hill and I'm pushing it up the hill.
Yep.
And for a while, like sometimes it's easy to push it up the hill and sometimes I slide back and sometimes it gets harder and sometimes it gets easier. And then out of nowhere, I don't know when it's going to happen, but out of nowhere, I'm at the top of the hill.
Yeah.
But because the boulder is so big, I can't tell where I am in the process.
Yeah.
And so like, I love it, but it's also like when I get a logo project, like I'm so excited. And then I'm like, it's this weird feeling because like I'm so excited to do it. But like, I got to make so much space for myself.
So much.
To be able to do it.
But man, it's satisfying when you get that boulder to the top of the mountain.
Oh, you can't tell me nothing once I get something like that. I just got
that rock up here.
You can't tell me anything. I mean, most days you can't tell me anything anyway. But yeah, and like making space for myself can look really different.
Yeah.
So like that might be like I get to go buy myself coffee for a couple days while I'm working on it. My ideal setup with this is like I block a couple full days.
Yeah.
No meetings, no calls, nothing. Like I'm just trying to like really get in it and do deep work. And so like it might be like I get a special coffee. I get like a special playlist.
You treat yourself.
Right. I treat myself. And it's tricky because like in an ideal world, I would sit somewhere different than where I sit to work all day, but it's hard for me to move. We've talked about this.
Yeah.
But sometimes I'll go like sit somewhere new to sketch.
Sure.
If I bring out my sketchbook because
sometimes you just need to move around. You need to get somewhere outside. It's like if you're not feeling it and you've been at your desk all day, you might just need to move.
And now sometimes if I'm at sometimes I open my computer and I'm like, okay, we're going, it's moving, we're doing it. And then sometimes I'm like,
no. But we know when it's going to hit.
Sometimes
we don't know when it's going to hit, but we know when it does hit.
But sometimes I feel like creativity is kind of like a cat that I'm trying to lure, right?
Yeah.
Like I was working on a project for a little while. And for some reason, it seemed to like really work when I went to India and got this like caprese avocado toast situation.
Oh, sure.
Right. And I was like, I don't know what about eating this makes my brain work.
No.
But I did it for 3 days in a row and I got like so much done on this one project.
That's the best.
There was another project that I gave up coffee for a while. I've done it like 2 or 3 times in my life. And I was off coffee at this point, but I was slowly starting to drink it again.
Yeah.
And there was this project I did it all in like 3 or 4 days. And every day I went and got like a giant iced chai, like in the morning and would sit there and I would drink it. And I would I put on like a playlist from like 2002 because I'm Eva. If you haven't met me, that's kind of where, that's kind of my vibe. And so like, I don't know. It's kind of like, I got to get
Yeah.
Like I gotta get my dopamine up if I'm really gonna be like getting it done.
Unfortunately, one place I found I'm extremely productive is a empty gate at an airport. And I can only do that if I have a plane ticket. But man, I get so much work done at an airport.
Told me that, and I can do a little.
Oh man, I don't know what it is. If it's like all the hustle, it's like all this is going on around me. I put my headphones in and I am in the zone.
You don't get distracted?
No, what? No. I'm not going to talk to those people.
I'm an extrovert. Remember, I made friends.
This is the problem. You want to chat with people.
That is so mean.
I don't want anything to do with anyone around me.
Well, but like sometimes I don't want to talk to them. Sometimes I just want to look.
Well,
I just want to watch people.
Well, yeah, but then you have your moments where you're coffee and you just stare at them, and then creativity hits.
Nope. No.
You're like, no, it doesn't.
I had this big project I was working on the last time I had to fly somewhere, and I tried to work on it in the airport. I tried to work on it on a plane.
Now, working on a plane, unless you're business class, don't bother.
Well, I was in business class for 4 hours.
Okay. Oh, well, there you go.
No,
but like
absolutely not.
People who tell me they're going to work on the plane, then I find out they're sitting in coach. I'm like, no. And I say all that. I always sit in coach, unless like. No, I usually sit in coach. Right. I don't want to spend the money. But I'm like, you can't work like properly.
I can do
I'll
admin
be like
work.
all up in the person beside me. Like I have too much. I like my space.
Well, I'm Build-A-Bear size. I fit in the overhead compartment.
That's fair. I have no space back there. And what is it? I am always behind someone that reclines. And
I don't even notice because I'm so short.
It's so frustrating.
I mean, I kind of notice, but I'm so short. That
If they're a very tall person and they recline, I will let that slide.
Poor 6'4"
if you are shorter,
plane.
If you're shorter than me, I'm 5'6" for reference. If you are shorter than me and you get on a plane and recline, you suck in life.
You know, though, I'm going to recline every time I get on a plane, and I'm going to send you a picture.
I'm going to be like, I hope you know the person behind you hates you with their whole soul.
I actually don't have to recline. My legs are so short, I can sit crisscross applesauce on a plane.
No.
Yep.
So what were we talking about today?
Creativity, and somehow we're on airplanes.
That's okay. I mean, we were talking about places that make us want to be creative, and somehow that's one of mine.
Coffee shops do it for me.
Well, that's a classic.
Yeah.
I got to get my coffee in there.
But I don't do it that much. Like, it's not an always thing.
That's fair.
It's a sometimes thing.
Yeah.
But anyways. Yeah.
All right, cool.
All right.
Well, we got to go make stuff because we're both feeling creative.
But I want to make stuff with this soundboard now that I've figured it out.
I'm going to hit buttons over there.
Oh my God. It says it's been on for an hour and 7 minutes.
And we've recorded
33 minutes.
You guys are so lucky.
Oh my God. Anyways, well, thanks to everybody for listening.
Seriously, thank you. This is a lot of work.
It's a labor of love. We love y'all, though.
Thank you.
Talk to y'all next week.
All right. Bye.
Bye. Remember to follow us on Instagram at Ghost Boss Podcast. And also, please like and review us on your favorite podcast app.